the tech tool I decided to report on was Mentimeter. So, Mentimeter is a website that allows you to have presentations with interactive elements. So, the primary purpose is to raise engagement and include entire groups into presentations. And this means groups as in students or workforces or even outside of that. So what it does, it is allows viewers of the presentation to interact with the slideshow in various ways. So some of the options are like anonymous polls that have questions that you can answer on your phone or device. There's word clouds where everyone that's watching can submit sentences or words, stuff like that. And with these interactions, they pop up on the screen in real time. So the presentation isn't like a fixed thing. It's something that's digital and can change with every response that comes in. So for educators, I said that this tool would allow students to be actively engaged in slide lectures as well as allowing students to respond to the class material in ways other than verbal responses. So rather than having the teacher use like a slideshow and having a whiteboard, for example, where students raise their hands and then the teacher writes down what they say, this could have everyone in the class actively engaged in the material, responding, answering questions, answering polls, etc. And then additionally, this would allow the teacher to gauge the class's understanding of the material so they can look at the responses of the class and say, these amount of students get it versus this is stuff we need to work on and stuff like that. This is from their website. This is just some of the options that they provide. So as you can see, there's things like multiple choice answers. You can create word clouds, answer open-ended questions, scales, Q&As, quick responses, grids, etc. So there's a lot of tools on this website, which is very nice. So the first question was, what grade level or content area is this built for? And I said that there was no set range, but I would personally say that this tool would probably be best for someone in late elementary school, maybe fourth grade, up until post grad, because this tool is designed for anyone that's a student or in like an office setting where you're having group projects and group collaborations. So there really is no set range. And how does this tool connect to one or more of the ISTE standards? I said that the IES standard for students 1.5B datasets, the standard says students collect data and identify relevant datasets, use digital tools to analyze them, and represent data in various ways to facilitate problem solving and decision making. I felt like this IST standard really related to the Mentimeter because one of their tools was about data and graphing. So students would be able to analyze the graphs and data that was presented from their class that was shown up onto the Mentimeter screen. And one of the ways in which this tool could be used by educators is that they have a word cloud tool. So basically, this tool could be used by teachers to see what all the students are thinking and use it as possibly a check-in. It can be used for feedback. The example that they gave on the website was saying like, how are you feeling today? So you could gauge like just generally how the class is feeling. But beyond that, there's a lot of ways you can use a word cloud in a classroom. And then thinking about the PICRAT, I said that I would categorize this under interactive because students become part of the lesson plan, but it's not necessarily creating anything new. Like this tool could be used on just like a whiteboard, but the level of anonymity that comes with it and that the entire class is engaged, that level of interactiveness is probably more than just a whiteboard, but it's still not going past that into the creative realm. So that's why I placed it probably in the middle. And then additionally, I said that this would be placed under amplifies because I feel like it does make word clouds a bit more easier. It allows for full class engagement, like I said, but it's not necessarily transforming the word cloud into something that is so revolutionized. So it's still staying in the realm, but it makes it a lot easier and faster for teachers to use this instead of a whiteboard. And moving over to this SAMR, I said that I would place this under modification, mostly because the level of anonymity that comes with it allows for like all the students to be engaged, not worry about having to raise their hand if they don't want to, and everyone in the class has to respond on their devices. So it is enhancing the level of word cloud, but it's not so redefined that it's an entirely new thing that is groundbreaking. And another example I gave is that this tool has options for data and graphing. So basically, students would be able to submit responses and then see the group's answers as data and graphs. So for educators, this could be used for saying like low stake quizzes as like an exit ticket just to see what the students know already and where they're at. You could also use it to collect student data based on their experiences, opinions. So, what like questions like whose favorite color is red, whose favorite color is blue, and then seeing like how that graph plays out, then you can use the class's data set and each student can analyze what they're viewing and see majorities, minorities, etc. So in terms of PickRat, I place this under creative because as a class, I think students would be able to create the data sets themselves and then use the data and analyze it and discuss as a class. So while they're not individually creating something, as an entire class, they are creating their own data sets and graphs that they can physically look at and analyze. So I do think it is a tool that would be placed under creative because without it, it would be a lot more difficult and less engaging. And moreover, moving on to SAMR, I place this under amplifies because I do feel like teachers could still create graphs using data on, say, like a whiteboard, but it would just take a lot longer. It wouldn't be as easy and it wouldn't be as efficient and quick as if you were going to use this tool. But it is not entirely redefining to the point that this tool is like way beyond just using a whiteboard. But I would say it's more than just an enhancement, so that's why I placed it on modification. That is the end of my slideshow, so thank you for listening.